Welcome back to Training Your Virtual Pet with me, your host and coach and teacher, Mr. Baumgarten. Let's get to this, shall we? Today we are going to get our CYD device to talk to the network and the internet. All right, if our devices are going to be communicating with each other and saying hello to each other and playing paper, rock, scissors and getting the weather forecasts, we have to be able to get our device to connect to the network. So that is what we're going to focus on today. So I'm going to basically remove pretty well all that we have happening here from our previous video. So let's just select all of this and start deleting stuff. So what I would suggest is maybe save it as a different name so that you can go back to it later on. So I'm just going to keep these imports, but I'm going to add a couple of other ones as well. So we're going to import requests, and this is a library that allows us to make a request of a web page or a site on the internet. I'm also going to import UJSON, which is a way that websites tend to format their data for exchanging information across the web. So we need this to be able to convert it into something that our code is going to be able to understand. And we finally need to import the way to be able to connect to our Wi-Fi. So from Wi-Fi, or in all caps, import star. So give me everything that's inside the Wi-Fi module. And you should have on your device the wifi.mpy file, because that is what that is going to import. Now we need to tell our Wi-Fi what our what the SSID and the password is of the network that we're wanting to connect to. So we're going to put this in a separate file and load it in so that we don't tend to put passwords in our code. We want to keep passwords out of the code so that we can so that our code remains secure and doesn't contain secret passwords inside it and stuff like that. So I'm going to create one more file here, and I'm just for now we're just going to call it networks. I'm going to use all caps, and I'm going to use square brackets. And inside these square brackets, right, I'm now then going to put in another set of square brackets. And here, I'm going to put in the SSID and the password for the Wi-Fi that I want to connect to. So at school, it's SC, capital S, capital C, capital W, lower I, capital F, lower I. So the SC Wi-Fi. And the password for that is Wi-Fi 1234. Now, you need to put in here all the SSIDs that you want your device to be able to connect to. So you can put in your Wi-Fi for home, right? So at my home for me, my Wi-Fi is called BAUMG, right? And then I would put in my password here, right? And I just put in like a comma separated list of all of the different of all of the different Wi-Fi's that I might want it to be able to connect to. Right, so as many different Wi-Fi's as you want your device to look for, you list them in here. Right, then I'm going to save this on my device as settings.py. And effectively, we've made our own little module here. So I can then come to my main and I can say from settings, import star. And that loads in everything that was in my settings file, brings it into my main file. And just to prove that that works, right, here in settings, I created something called networks. Here in main, I can now print networks, and once this finishes, there we go. there you go. That is the information that it has read from the settings file. So it imported that in. So whatever I created there will exist here in main, and so I can access the network's information. To use that information to connect to the Wi-Fi, all right, I'm going to use what's in my Wi-Fi module, and I'm just going to say, all right, create a variable for my Wi-Fi network so that I can access information about it later on, and Wi-Fi, and I just feed it my networks. All right, and that's all that's required to actually connect to the network. So if I save this and click run, what will happen now is I've created the variable, but I actually haven't told it to connect to the network. Okay. So the next step is Wi-Fi.connect. Right, and if I want to know the IP address that it gives me, I can just say IP equals, because that's what that function will give back to me. So I can say, okay, let's just print the IP address later on after it's finished. If I do that now, watch what happens. I'm watching my terminal screen here. It's scanning for all the SSIDs within range, so it's checking to see what Wi-Fi connections are available to me at my apartment. And so it's first so it found BORM-G, but it's not going to connect because that's not my password. So failed to connect to BORM-G, no available networks, so it's gone offline. Right, so what I need to do now is go to my settings and put in my real password. So let me hit pause on that. All right, so I've gone to my settings and I've put in my real password. What I'm going to do then is stop it from printing out that information, and you can just trust that it works. And now when I run this code, it should connect to my home Wi-Fi. All right, so again, it's scanning the network to see what SSIDs, what networks are within range, and it will find my home one, and it should connect and give us an IP address. So I found BORM and is connected, and I now have the IP address 192.168.0.103. So I'm connected to the internet. Fantastic. Let's use it to download a random dad joke off the internet, shall we? Right. So the address that I'm going to use, we call the internet addresses URLs, and the address is https:// without the e dadjoke.com. Right, end with the slash. So yeah, this is just it's a dad joke service that I found on the internet. All right, my dog used to chase people on a bike a lot. It got so bad I had to take his bike away. Badunk. All right, so basically, if I go to this website and I ask for a application JSON file format, then this is what it will provide to me. And remember that we were importing in the UJSON. So let me show you how this works. Right, so we've got this address and we're doing a GET request. There's different types of requests that different websites are set up for. So you need to know what the website is set up for this to work, right? Because it'll tell you whether it's a GET request or what's also called a POST request, and it'll tell you all the settings, right, the variable information that you have to provide to it, and then it will describe what it will give back to you. So let me show you how this one works. Okay, so we've got this URL. Okay, and the way that we execute the request to the website is, okay, I'm going to save the response into a variable. So I'm just going to call it the response, and I use that requests library that I imported, and I say, all right, I'm wanting to run a GET request, which is what that website said that it was. And the website that I'm going to go to is in this text. I've got this piece of text here in my URL. So give me whatever's in the URL variable for that. But I need to also provide some header information. Just going back to this, you can see here it had -h, which means header. I need to provide that piece of information so that it knows that I'm actually calling it from a program and I'm not just visiting it on a web browser. Right, so instead of giving me back a whole web page, it'll just give me the raw information for the joke. So to do that, I'm just going to say inside here, header is equal to, and I'm going to use my curly braces, and I'm going to say, all right, open up a piece of text that I am accepting responses. All right, what type of responses am I accepting? They are application/JSON. Close that piece of text. All right, and I think that's all that I have to provide. I can now close that parentheses for the get. So I'm providing two parameters to this function. I'm providing the address and I'm setting that as my header. All right, if I then print whatever I get in response, let's see what this shows. So if I save that and run this code, it's going to connect to the network, and then I'm going to get a response object back. But what I get back is going to be a little more than I'm necessarily going to want to deal with. So I'm going to need to manage what I get back and process it. So we'll just quickly wait for that. Unexpected keyword argument header. Yes, okay, so we actually don't need the header for a GET request. Which, yeah, because post requests normally have headers. Let me try this. This is a little unusual. Their documentation is actually not perfect. There you go. So sometimes you have to experiment a little bit, and that is life as well. If this doesn't work, then we'll switch to a post request and give it the header. Right, so so I got a response object and it's just telling me the memory address where Python has stored the response. So what I actually want to see is look at the response text. And see what it gives back to me there. I might have to start pausing every time I run this because this finding the Wi-Fi takes a few seconds. All right, so we got the whole web page back, which is kind of what I suspected was going to happen. So because I think this is actually supposed to be a post request where I then provide that header. If this doesn't work, then I'll pause it and figure it out properly and then carry it on from there, rather than it's headers plural. No wonder why I keep crushing it. All right, let me pause and make sure this works. Okay, I got there eventually. So yes, it is a GET request. It was just that I had misspelt. I left the S, the plural, off of headers before. Also, I had misspelt the word application, so it wasn't interpreting that correctly. All right, so if this works, then you get a random dad joke back like this. All right, and so we have a whole bunch of different values here, and an ID for the joke, and then the joke says, "Today my son asked, can I have a bookmark? And I burst into tears. 11 years old, and he still doesn't know my name is Brian." Badunk. Alright, now I have all this extra information, but I don't want all of that. I just want the joke part itself. Alright, so this is what we call JSON, where we have these squiggly brackets and then the different attributes or variables separated by the colons. So the variable name, value, variable name, value. right? And then we have a status variable name value. So how can I separate all that out? That's where that JSON library comes into play. Let's just say data is equal to UJSON load S, right? So load this piece of text, load this string, which is what we call text in Python, right? And turn it into a JSON object, right? And then I can say, okay, inside data, just give me this variable. So I can now access these different parts of it individually. So just the joke part of it itself, right? Joke, oops. So if I print here, let's just say, just give me the joke. All right, you'll see, so we still have it printing the full thing, and then we'll have it print just the joke part of it itself. All right, so save, run that. So then the next thing is, how do I get this to appear on screen? Well, I'd use my display.draw text just like before. So while we're waiting for this to connect to the Wi-Fi, I might just start typing that out. All right, so display.draw text, and I'll put it in the top left corner. Okay, and my code finished here. We can see here the joke. Animal fact number 25, most bobcats are not named Bob. These are definitely dead jokes. All right, so then down here, just give me the joke, animal fact 25. So you can see that we stripped out all of that other technical information, all those other values, and we extracted the one that was just the content in joke. And again, this is where the documentation is going to be important, because you're going to use that to know what all the different variables are. Right, so to draw this on screen at 0, 0, top left corner, what is the piece of text that I'm wanting on screen? Right, this is what is giving me the text. Now I could save this into a variable if I wanted to. So I could say joke is just that, and then that means in here I can just say, okay, put in that piece of text. All right, and I might change what my printout works here. Now there's going to be a little issue with this, and I wonder if you can tell what that issue is yet. All right, so again, font colors dot yellow, colors dot black. Let's draw this on screen. All right, the issue is this text is going to, most likely for the joke, it's going to appear off the edge of the screen. The whole thing is not going to fit. All right, so we're going to need to figure that out. But I mean, look, reality is we're not going to be using this, the responses from this joke format. All right, why does a moon rock taste better than an earth rock? Because it's a little meteor. Ba-dunk. All right, and again, if you look at my screen, okay, we got why does a moon rock taste, and then the rest of it just appears off the edge of the screen. So we're going to need to think these things through when we're dealing with different internet connections and the information that we're getting from them. But because of the way that our pet is going to interact, we're not going to have that problem, right? I could take this piece of text and kind of just show it, like scroll through it. So maybe as an optional extra, let me just quickly show you how I would go about scrolling this on the screen. Because I've got here this variable joke, right? And I can for loop through this joke. So for left in the range, right? So from 0 up until the full length of the joke. All right, so the len command tells me how long that piece of text is. So, all right, let me show you what I mean. Length of joke, right? Yeah, where are we? Okay, I'll create an F string. The joke is, all right, len joke characters long. All right, so it's just a way of being able to look up, and so I want my for loop to run from 0 up until however long the joke is. Right, so in this case it's like, you know, 80 characters long or something like that. And so what I'm going to do is this part, all right, I want to show the joke from, I want the left portion of it up until the end of the joke. Just trust me on the syntax that this would work. Like I said, you're not gonna I'm not gonna ask you to be doing this. So I'm just gonna print this part of the joke. So if I just show you what that will do, and then let's also put it on the display. So I'll copy that, put it into my for loop. Like I said, this is an optional extra. Let's make this, let's draw this kind of down a little bit. And so it's just this part that I'm wanting to draw, and I'm going to put that through the loop. But I'm also going to, well, actually, yeah, I'll just run it. There is going to be a slight problem when we get to the end of it. All right, so this is going to loop through all of the joke and basically skipping a character each time it runs through the loop. So let's see what joke we get first of all, and then you'll see what that will do. So now we go fetch the joke. All right, and you can see that we're kind of moving an extra character along each time, and the same is happening on the screen. It's scrolling our way through the joke. But what's going to happen is that this end part, we're going to end up with a whole bunch of dots because we aren't kind of drawing a new, like a blank space at the end. So we're getting a whole bunch of little dots there. So I might just say, okay, look, whatever we've drawn, let's just add a space, or add a couple of spaces to the end of it, and that'll make sure that we don't get this kind of mess at the end of it. So this part here is entirely optional. The purpose of this video was to get you connected to your Wi-Fi and being able to get a basic response from a website. So if you are able to get it to print the joke and display it on the screen, even though it kind of scrolls past the edge of the screen, then you have succeeded with today's video and you are ready to move on. All right, so this is Mr. Baumgarten signing out. Once we check that those extra spaces work, yeah, there we go. So we had that nice scroll effect happening. Okay.